I always show my appreciation when someone gives me a recommendation for a good movie, and in the case of some of the movies here, I always like to say, Hanks a lot. Tom Hanks. Who doesn't love him? Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people actually. Anyway, when it comes to A-list actors, Tom Hanks is about as iconic as it's gonna get. He's the everyman, Joe Schmo, Mr. Nice Guy, both on-screen and off. A lot of people who watch his movies feel like they can relate to him in some way. And because of that, most of Hanks' films are universally known. They're all crowd pleasers, ranging from war movies, romantic comedies, family drama, you name it, he's done it. And he's back to some familiar territory this weekend, being a World War II drama, more on that in a second, with Greyhound. That drops on Apple TV Plus this weekend. I'll have my review for that out within the next few days, so if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can catch that as soon as it comes out. Stay tuned there. But to coincide with the release of Greyhound, I wanted to take a look back at 10 of Tom Hanks' best movies. And I'll say right up front, his filmography is massive and he's been in a lot of extremely well-known movies. There are going to be some very good movies left off, and probably not all your favorites are going to make this list. But if you disagree with this list, or if there's something I left off that you feel should have been included, let me know in the comments. But since he's been in so many great movies, let's start off with some honorable mentions. They are, alphabetically, Bridge of Spies, Catch Me If You Can, Charlie Wilson's War, Philadelphia, The Post, Road to Perdition, Saving Mr. Banks, Sleepless in Seattle, Sully, and That Thing You Do. And now, onto the list. Number 10. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I know this was just released last year, but it really is a very nice movie. I actually briefly spoke about it in my Best Movies of 2019 video, so if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. But when it comes to casting real-life figures, Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers is about as pitch perfect as it's gonna be. I mean, we're talking about one of the nicest guys in Hollywood portraying one of the nicest guys in television. How much more on point is that? And it's not even just novelty casting. Hanks gets the delivery of Mr. Rogers down perfectly, and he is fantastic. Though while he was plastered all over the advertising, this is less of a biography and more about the effect that Mr. Rogers had on the world in general, seen through the perspective of a cynical journalist played by Matthew Rhys. Hanks plays more of a supporting role, and it's an incredibly sweet, highly emotional film that will make you laugh and even pull on your heartstrings a little bit. Number 9. Forrest Gump. I'm just gonna say right up front, obviously, I think this movie's great, but this won Best Picture the same year that Pulp Fiction was nominated. And if I had to choose what should have won between Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction, I'm gonna go with Pulp Fiction. I mean, it's now considered one of the greatest movies of all time. How do you overlook that? Just saying. Anyway, Forrest Gump can be very sentimental, but there's just so much about it that's memorable that it's kind of hard to resist. So many lines are quotable, and so many images like Forrest on the bench are classic. And Tom Hanks' performance is just fantastic. He's very funny, and even though Forrest isn't the brightest guy around, Hanks still brings out the sweetness in him so that he's not just a walking, talking butt of a joke for 2.5 hours. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll have a great time. You're missing out if you haven't seen this one yet. Number 8. Castaway. While it's not the number one spot on this list, I think this is the movie that, if you had any doubts of Hank's skills as an actor, this is the movie to see. Why? Well, I mean, he's in half, if not most, of the movie by himself, talking to a volleyball, and he manages to make that compelling. That takes talent right there. This is mostly just Hanks' movie, and watching him in action is awesome. While the idea of him talking to a volleyball for half the movie can make for some humorous moments, Hanks, as well as director Robert Zemeckis, handle the rest of this material with such maturity that his character is never just a punchline. Instead, we get an emotional movie about survival, and the extensive physical and mental toll it takes on Hanks as he spends 4 years in isolation. It's a great film, and one that allows Hanks to show off just how talented he truly is. Number 7. Apollo 13. Houston, we have a great movie. Okay. I will say this, no matter what you think of this movie, whether you like it, love it, don't like it, whatever, you gotta give it credit for just how technically accurate it is. That's the one thing this movie is known for over anything else. Director Ron Howard went through great lengths to recreate the feel that the actual members of the Apollo 13 mission went through, even filming in a reduced gravity aircraft, so he can show a realistic portrayal of weightlessness. That's awesome on its own. But even beyond that, it's just a damn good movie all around. It's beautifully shot, especially everything during the astronauts' time in space. Also, it's just thrilling from beginning to end, especially as the mission to get the astronauts back to Earth goes underway. The cast is top-notch as well. Hanks is great as always, as are Bill Paxton and Kevin Bacon, and even in the supporting cast, Ed Harris and Gary Sinise are both solid. A fine job all around, and it just makes for an exciting adventure film. Number 6. Big. The film that cemented Hanks' place as a star is still by far one of his best works. A lot of his earlier movies were made up of comedies, physical comedies at that, which is something we really haven't seen from him since those earlier films. But this is one of the best examples of Hanks at his goofiest, because this movie is absolutely hilarious. Hanks' sense of comedic timing is still on point, as all the misunderstandings that we see him get into still crack me up to this day. And while it's mostly played for laughs, it has a sentimental side to it. The premise of a child wishing he was older does touch upon the themes of growing up too fast and the effects it may have on someone. This is best seen in the strained friendship between Hanks and his one friend who knows his secret. It's a great film with plenty of rewatch value and, in a way, iconic. I mean, the FAO Schwartz piano scene is still a classic to this day. Number 5. Captain Phillips. Of all Hanks' work from just this past decade, this crushes the competition. Like, it's not even close. I mean, this was directed by Paul Greengrass, who gave us 3 of the Bourne films, and Tom Hanks still plays his usual Mr. Nice Guy character. So if you haven't seen this, imagine if your everyday hero suddenly gets thrusted into a Bourne movie. Pretty cool, right? I mean, in all seriousness though, this movie is, simply put, intense. I remember first seeing this and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. It's a nail-biter for sure. Greengrass's direction is on point, showing once again he's one of the masters of a modern-day thriller, really giving us the sense of claustrophobia from just being trapped on this boat. And Hanks, as always, is incredible, though the real standout here is Barkhad Abdi as the leader of the pirates. I mean, he is just menacing and he's an excellent antagonist. Like, how can you beat that "I'm the captain now" line? It's amazing. Number 4. The Green Mile. Alright, unpopular opinion here. This is directed by Frank Darabont, who also gave us The Shawshank Redemption. Both are adaptations of Stephen King books. They're both great, but Shawshank is usually the more revered film. However, I actually like this one more, which is a shame because when I see lists of best Stephen King adaptations, this doesn't always make the cut. It gets some criticism for being too long, and I know it's 3 hours, but honestly, I rarely feel it, if at all. It's a very sweet movie, and at times can even be a little funny, even though it takes place inside a prison. But above all else, it's incredibly emotional. It knows how to bring out both your sadness and your outrage perfectly. Darabont is a very underrated director for just how well he can pull that off. It's actually a shame he doesn't direct more movies. Tom Hanks is excellent as always, but the real standout is, without a doubt, hands down, Michael Clarke Duncan as John Coffey. He is phenomenal. I dare you not to even get a little teary-eyed during the conversations he has with Hanks. It's truly wonderful stuff. Number 3. A League of Their Own. I actually talked about this movie in my top 10 sports movies video, so if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out. But I absolutely love this movie. And I think what I particularly enjoy about Hank's performance here is that this is a rare case when he gets to act a little bit antagonistic, at least for the first half of the film. Considering this is Mr. Nice Guy we're talking about here, this is a rare film when we get to see him step a little bit out of his comfort zone, even if only for a little bit. When he's first on board as the manager of this women's baseball team, he's screaming, yelling, insulting people, and the arguments that would ensue as a result would be hilarious. I still get a kick out of that. Though he softens up as the movie goes on, and he gets along with everyone by the halfway point. It's a feel-good story, especially for just how well written its characters are. The rivalry between Gina Davis and Lori Petty as 2 sisters on the same team is a great arc, and both their performances are just fantastic. I've seen this movie countless times, and to this day, it never gets old. Number 2. Saving Private Ryan. Before he was Saving Mr. Banks in 2013, he was Saving Private Ryan in 1998. See what I did there? Of all Tom Hanks movies that did not win Best Picture, I truly don't understand how this was the one that lost. And to Shakespeare in Love of all movies? I mean, it's not a bad movie, but no comparison whatsoever. You see, this movie can be considered legendary for the opening scene of the Omaha Beach invasion alone, which is hands down one of the greatest battle scenes in movie history. And that's just the first scene. It runs at about 3 hours, and honestly, there's never a dull moment. Everything about this movie is amazing. Steven Spielberg's direction is incredible, the cinematography's stunning, the performances are all top-notch, Hanks especially, but, like, even Vin Diesel was amazing here. The film is praised for its realism, and I gotta say, it really highlights just how much war can be hell. It nails it, and honestly, it's easily my favorite film in the war genre. Nothing else comes even close. And at number 1... Despite nearly all of Hank's movies being live action, his number 1 movie, the absolute best movie he's in, is animated. It's actually a very famous animated movie. In fact, it's one of the most successful animated franchises of all time. It's iconic. In fact, it doesn't even need Hanks' name recognition to show how iconic it is. I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm of course talking about the Simpsons movie. Yes, the legendary Simpsons movie, centered around arguably the most famous animated family in television history. A show so good that it's still going to this day, and I hope it just keeps going till the end of time. And I know Tom Hanks only has a cameo in this movie as himself, and he's just narrating an advertisement, but you know, it made such a long-lasting impression on me that it easily outranks every movie here. If you thought his monologues in Saving Private Ryan were compelling, just wait till... I'm kidding. Obviously the real number 1's Toy Story. Well, all of the Toy Story movies. Yeah, I'm cheating with this one, but here's the thing. While I do like each of the Toy Story movies to slightly different degrees, with the first one still being my favorite, those differences are so slim that they would have just taken up the first 4 spots here. And then nearly half this list would have just been the Toy Story list. Also, when you put them all together, they essentially tell one complete story in a way. They're all movies about childhood innocence and the pains that come with growing up, shown in various stages of life through the eyes of these toys. They're all incredibly sweet movies, and they'll easily resonate with most audiences. And on top of all that, they're just hilarious. Tom Hanks' voice work as Woody is untouchable. He can be ridiculous and over the top, and his delivery of lines just like, "You are a toy," are classic. They still crack me up to this day. Plus, the chemistry between him and Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear is amazing. They make for a great pairing. Like I said, the first movie is still my favorite, and it's safe to say that that has the best script. Like, that's the one most filled with hidden jokes that adults will certainly appreciate. And I wonder if that has something to do with Joss Whedon co-writing the script. But all 4 films have something unique to offer. They're all some of Tom Hanks' finest films, some of the best animated movies of all time, and honestly, my favorite movie franchise of all time. And that's my list. A lot of great movies there. A lot of extremely well-known movies at that. Like I said, this guy is so prolific that a lot of great movies got sent to the honorable mentions or weren't even included at all. And what's great is he's showing no signs of slowing down. He's got a few high-profile movies in the works as of this video, including reteaming with Captain Phillips director Paul Greengrass for News of the World later this year, as well as teaming up with Baz Luhrmann for an Elvis Presley biopic. He's not actually playing Elvis, by the way, but can you imagine? But anyway, I'm looking forward to all of them just the same. So let me know, what's your favorite Tom Hanks movie and what's your least favorite Tom Hanks movie? Was it anything I listed here? Did I leave something off? And do you agree with this list at all? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it. And for more movie reviews and film discussion, including my review of Hank's Greyhound this weekend, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you next time.